What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy, and in this video we're going to talk about both Arsenal and Man City crashing out of the Champions League. No more English teams left in the competition. Real Madrid, on the other hand, have got to their 12th semi-final in 14 seasons, which is an absolutely ridiculous run, but I'll come on to that match in a minute. I'll start with Arsenal. Now, I didn't watch this match in full. I've only seen the highlights. I decided to watch the Man City versus Real Madrid game instead. I'm too old to be watching two games at once on different devices. So from the highlights that I saw, I don't think Arsenal were bad or anything like that, but it felt like Bayern were pretty comfortable. And from what I've kind of read on social media, people's opinions of the game, no one is really saying that Arsenal, were on top and deserved to go through. Like, it was pretty even over the two legs. But in the end, Bayern winning was probably fair. I don't think maybe Arsenal did enough to get the result last night. They had a couple of chances of their own, but it looked like Bayern had more. They hit the woodwork a couple of times. Great goal by Kimmich as well. Absolute bullet header. Nice cross from Guerrero. And in the end, maybe it was just a little bit too much for Arsenal to go away to Bayern and get the result. That's kind of what I felt, that they got the draw at home, which wasn't bad. But did I really see Arsenal going away to Bayern Munich and getting the win? Not really. It's not that I don't think they could do it, but sometimes you need that extra little bit of experience, and Arsenal just don't really have that right now. Some people saying that maybe they've run out of steam at the wrong time again, a little bit like last season. I think that's a little bit unfair. It's not great for Arsenal that they've dropped points in the league to Villa and now 2 points behind Man City and are now out of the Champions League as well, all in the space of a week. But I think the true test of whether they've run out of steam is going to be the next few matches in the Premier League. If they go on and drop more points over the next couple, then yeah, maybe you can start throwing those kind of accusations is a bit strong, but those kind of statements around Arsenal about that they've run out of steam. Like some people saying that maybe Arteta should have rotated the squad a little more. Maybe that's fair. Like, we know players like Odegaard and Saka get very little rest over the course of a season. Arsenal do have some players in reserve as well. It's not like they've got a tiny squad and they have spent a lot of money. But I think it's just, I don't know if it's lazy, but I just think it's too easy just to say that is the problem. I think ultimately they came up against a pretty good Bayern Munich team and they left themselves with a lot to do going away from home. I also saw Tuchel say that he played Guerrero instead of Muller to kind of try and nullify that right side for Arsenal as well. And from the highlights, there didn't seem to be a huge amount of attacks there that caused Bayern too many problems. So I don't think it's season over for Arsenal. Although I think City will go on and win the league, it is still pretty close. But they've got to go and beat Wolves, because if they drop points there and draw or lose, then there's going to be a lot of questions thrown at them that have they just kind of blown it, and I don't want to say bottled it, but that is what people will be saying. So it sucks if you're an Arsenal fan, but I do think overall there's improvement over the last couple of seasons under Arteta, and I'd be pretty encouraged moving forward into next year. Ultimately, to win competitions like the Champions League, to beat Man City in the Premier League is very tough. And I think Arsenal have shown some improvement again this year, but they have to finish the league strong. Even if they don't win it, they can't just collapse from this position, because that will not be a good look. And then moving on to Man City, I've got to say thank you to Real Madrid and sorry to Man City fans. But if I'm honest, I am very glad that you got knocked out last night, because it's bad enough you're probably going to go and get 4 Premier League titles in a row, but back-to-back Champions League or possibly even back-to-back trebles was just too much to think about. So thank you, Real Madrid, who are now in their 12th semi-final of the last 14 years, like I already said, which is absolutely incredible. In terms of the match itself, for a lot of it, especially in the 90 minutes before extra time, it felt like a typical Man City game where they've got a bit more possession, they're passing it around, they're trying to break the opposition down, and the opposition is happy to kind of sit in and defend, but also have a threat when they get the ball back, especially on the counter and stuff like that as well. Especially once Real Madrid had scored, it felt like that's kind of how the rest of the match went. It's probably a little bit unfair on Real Madrid. I don't think they just sat on the edge of their box the whole game. But obviously that was part of the plan. You just get back into a shape, make it hard for Man City to score, and then have those threats like Rodrigo and Vinicius when you move forward. And obviously Jude Bellingham was really good for the first goal as well. On that first goal, if you go and watch it back, first of all, great play from Bellingham to take the ball out of the air, control it, obviously start setting up the move as well. But Kyle Walker twice in that sequence is appealing for offside. And then when the goal gets scored as well, Kanji's appealing too, rather than just concentrating on the game. Maybe that's a little bit unfair. Maybe they were, able to do both things. They're professional footballers after all. But it's almost that old thing you heard, back when we were playing, when we were like 10, 11, 12, you play to the whistle, right? So I know players are going to appeal, right? They want the decision to be made, but it's always going to get VAR'd anyway. So just concentrate on what you're doing. But it was a good goal from Real Madrid. And then after that, it was up to Man City to kind of break them down. And you always felt like Man City would score. It's just whether they could get that second goal as well. In terms of, some of the player performances, Akanji, apart from what I've just said about the first goal, I think he played pretty well. He was almost doing he was doing the John Stones role, moving into midfield. He's very good on the ball. That is an incredible transfer from Man City last year, but also really great coaching. I get it, right? The 115 charges, the money spent, all that stuff people want to talk about. I fully get it. But ultimately, Pep Guardiola does improve players, and they always play well under him, partly because obviously the whole team knows what they're doing. But I thought Akanji in that Stones role was pretty good. I thought Cruz for Real Madrid was a little bit sloppy in some of his passes, which maybe you wouldn't expect from him. But also, Man City did press Real Madrid quite high, and he wasn't the only one that kind of made bad passes, balls out of play, and stuff like that. So overall, obviously, that was just City's general game plan. Carvajal, I thought defended really well, considering he was on a yellow card for much of that game as well. And maybe Man City didn't target that side enough. I mean, to be fair, Grealish did see a lot of the ball, and when he was taken off, a lot of people on Twitter said that he'd been the best player for Man City, but ultimately didn't have a great deal of joy up against Carvajal, who obviously, like I said, was on that yellow card. So I think he defended well. The big talking point maybe is Erling Haaland. I would say he played better than the first leg, but still didn't really offer a huge amount. Now, I think it's really easy to go on and say that, Haaland just doesn't provide enough to Man City when he's not scoring goals. I think that's quite, an obvious thing to say maybe, but it does feel like that at times, right? And it did in this Real Madrid tie over both legs, to be honest with you. And obviously last season, right, when you're going to score 30, 40, 50 goals, you don't need to worry about everything else because everything's going nice and smooth. But now, over the last few weeks where it's not quite going so well, it kind of stands out a little bit more. And obviously he's up against tough opposition. I thought Nacho and Rudiger did really well against him again last night. I don't really remember him having too many clear-cut chances. I don't really remember him pinning those defenders back or getting through on goal or anything like that. And obviously that's full credit to Real Madrid. They defended really well. But I don't know. Haaland just almost looked off it a little bit. And I think Man City need him to play a little bit better in those games. And I don't want to put it all on him because, Phil Foden didn't have a great game. He didn't play badly, but I don't really remember anything where he absolutely stood out. I thought De Bruyne was very good, especially all-round game, like in terms of tracking back, defending, winning the ball back, creating chances and stuff like that. But yeah, Haaland, Foden, don't really remember either of them having a particularly great game. So maybe, I don't know, you could say it was an off day, but ultimately Man City did create chances. They won on XG, right? Rodri said after the game they should have probably gone through and won the game. But unless you can put those chances in the back of the net and stop the opposition from scoring, it doesn't really matter. And obviously there's been plenty of teams in the past that have played like Real Madrid did and got to finals and they've gone on and won it. And the only thing that matters at the end of the day is winning that trophy. That's all people will remember. Just quickly on that Rodri interview after the game, I've seen a few people tweeting that he's a bit of a sore loser and stuff like that. I think it's a little bit harsh because first of all, you're getting a player straight after the game. Of course he's going to be disappointed and a little bit more feisty than maybe he would be in a week's time where he's had a bit of time to reflect. But he also did say Real Madrid know how to defend. They know how to suffer. They know how to play in the Champions League. So I don't think it was all sore loser. But I also understand his viewpoint because Man City are always in that position where it feels like they're the ones that have to try and break the other team down. And it probably does feel frustrating when it doesn't happen, especially when you've had more of the chances. But on the flip side, I think when Real Madrid, I can't remember if it was when they were 1-0 up or when it was 1-1, they had a chance to score. And if it had been a better ball across the box, that would have been game over. So it could have quite easily gone the other way. I can't remember who was on the right that passed the ball across the box, but it was a poor pass, right? It should have been much better. But who cares right now? Real Madrid are through. In terms of the next round, or getting through to the final, I don't really have an affiliation to any team that is left. Obviously, it'd be cool if Dortmund won instead of PSG, but realistically, I don't care. I suppose if I really wanted someone to win, it'd be Bayern Munich. I'd like to see Harry Kane lift the trophy. Obviously, Real Madrid have got Jude Bellingham, so I'd like to see him win it because obviously he's English too. But I think for me, Harry Kane's obviously closer to the end of his career. Not that he's going anywhere anytime soon, but he is closer, obviously, than Jude Bellingham. And I feel like it's just so easy for people to say Kane's won nothing and therefore he's no good, when realistically he's one of the best forwards that England have ever produced. So for him to now go and get a Champions League after making that move and not winning the league, that is something that I would like to see ahead of him lifting the trophy for England in the summer, of course. So there we go. Arsenal and Man City out. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments below. It's obviously not season over for Man City. They're still in the FA Cup. They're favourites to win that. They're in pole position in the league. They'll probably go on and win that as well. And let's be fair, a treble followed by a double is pretty impressive. But also, I'm quite glad that they went out. For Arsenal, you've got to win your next couple of games. Put that pressure on Man City. And then see what happens for the rest of the season. I'll be back soonish with another video. I don't know what on. I'm kind of winging this at the moment, but hopefully you're enjoying it. If you are, give it a like, hit that subscribe button. I'll catch you again soon.